Good evening, good evening. Here we are, SuperCars NZ. This is Doug, and I'm joined in the broadcasting lounge with the one and only Shane White. How are we going, Shane?
Yeah, good thanks, Doug. We're going endurance racing tonight. First round of the Allports Enduro Cup for the season, and
Whoop
it's
whoop.
the Diverse Technologies 200 here at Zolder.
Sure is. Yeah, see there up there tonight. The guys have got a whopping 3.95 kilometres of turns, which Shane will run through us very shortly. But essentially, it's a 50 lapper. I know that a lot of the guys were talking earlier down the pit lane there. They're a bit nervous to see how the cars are going to fare tonight, how they're going to manage their tyres and race strategies and stuff. Give us a bit of a rundown at home of what the drivers are going to expect.
Yeah, well, it's a big challenge for the guys tonight with the pit strategies, or the compulsory pit stops that the rules have been in place for that recently have made it more of a tyre race than a fuel race. But tonight the guys are going to be wanting to start with a full load of fuel unless they choose to spend more time sitting in pit lane. So that's going to be heavy cars. They will need to take some fuel at some stage during the race as well to get home. So that obviously makes it a compulsory pit stop whether it's there in the rules or not. I believe it is still required for them to change four tyres.
It is, yep.
So they will be coming to the lane at some point during the race, change four tyres, take some fuel. And if they start with a full tank, they will be looking to add around 64 litres to get home.
Wow.
The range on a tank is going to be about 31 laps, so that's going to mean critical lap will be lap 19. So anytime from lap 19, they can fill up, get home, and make it to the end. But that is going to be a long way to go on tyres. A lot of the guys talking about tyres probably only just doing 25 laps, so probably the vast majority of the guys will split the race in half tonight, get in 25 laps, get in, put a fresh set of tyres on, get some fuel in the car, and then 25 laps to home.
Yeah, that's really quite crazy. Do you know if anyone, or if it's something that if you were out there going into a big race tonight such as this, would you opt for a two-stop strategy? Is the pit lane transition short enough to warrant coming in to do your full tyre swap and some fuel, and then come in for a third and take another, I don't know, like some loaded sided tyres, or another pit stop for another four tyres again, just to try and help balance out the car a bit more? Is that something worthwhile looking at?
Well, potentially it could be. I haven't timed the pit lane loss myself as yet, but it is, while it's a fairly short pit lane, the exit does go a long way away from the racetrack, so adding a fair bit of distance and therefore a fair bit of time. So I believe it would be a fairly significant pit lane loss.
Yep.
But yeah, I guess it all depends on what the tyre life is like. If you are going to do a two-stopper, you're obviously going to have a lot less management required. So you can go faster for a longer period of time, and yeah, potentially you could gain that time back that you lose. So we'll see if anybody's going to take that gamble. It was something that was discussed as potentially an option. We'll just have to wait and see if it's a gamble that anybody is willing to take.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking, like, a lot of the guys probably wouldn't have been in a position running their cars at the moment with such a high heavy fuel load, with the expectation of having to take on, again, a significant amount of fuel to carry on to be able to race through to the end, correct?
Yeah, that's right. What I would say though is, I think one way or another they're going to have to run with a heavy car at the start. For me, there's no sense in starting with a lower fuel load, because it just means you're sitting still for longer. It does give you a lighter car at the start of the race, but it just means more fuel needed to be added in a longer stop. Even if you are doing that over two stops,
Correct.
It's still a long period of time sat stationary in pit lane. So
that's it, and it's whether or not the drivers, are you capable of going and doing, a full 2.5 lap times faster than the other drivers out there, having a slightly lower weighted car and averaging that over your 20 laps or whatever it might be before you come in and then sit there to take on more fuel again to have a heavier car towards the end when then they're going to be running lighter. So that's yeah, sort of probably the backward strategy in respect to that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. And of course, we don't run a fuel drop race, so there's no fuel required to add. It's just what you need to get home. So potentially some guys might try and add a little bit less than they need, save a bit of time in pit lane, and save some fuel in that second stint to stretch that fuel out. And ultimately at the end of the day, track position is king. So if you can stop your refueling slightly earlier to gain track position over the guy you're fighting, if you
Yep.
can then hold him off while saving fuel as well, and that could be a strategy play that can get you a spot.
There we go. So, as we're coming up towards the end of qualifying, it will lapse over, I'm guessing, because we're not doing heat racing tonight. So, anyone who starts a lap just before that 15-minute marker will be able to carry on through. But we're looking like we've got 20, maybe 21 cars out there tonight in what's our Div 1 series. Did you happen to catch a number for across the way at our Div 2? So those guys are also running tonight doing the exact same thing, another 50 laps for them as well.
I heard mid-20s. I think
Cool.
I heard a 25 at one point, whether that's
Yep.
increased or not. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, it sounds like somewhere around the mid-20s is where they're sitting, so pretty similar to
Wow.
maybe a few more than what we've got in tonight.
Oh, that's I reckon that's pretty awesome for SuperCars NZ. Got 50 odd people, or nearly 60 odd people turning up on their Tuesday night, just after the start of what could be a very troublesome week, and they're here tonight, ready to vent and cut loose and do some good hard fun racing. That's what we like here at SuperCars NZ.
That's right, we love good hard racing, fun racing, hopefully clean racing.
Yes,
Obviously,
indeed.
as racing goes, there's going to be issues from time to time, but we'll hope there's nothing too major, and hopefully the guys can keep it nice and clean out on track.
That's it. And there we go. So 15-minute marker done and dusted. Probably just getting ready to roll over for the guys to be that last few seconds of racing closing down on there now. Shane Van Gisbergen coming along tonight after having a pretty challenging race weekend in the Gen 3 V8s in real life, but great racing to him nonetheless. So he's taking P1 here tonight in the Allports Motorsport Supercars NZ Div 1 round. And Ryan Wood joining us tonight has managed to take out P2. So we should be able to see some pretty good battles between those guys. But looking at the lap time between Shane and Ryan there, and nearly being nearly a full second in time difference, I don't think it's going to take Shane too long before he's making some gaps. But we'll see what happens. Again, heavy fuel, heavy cars, and everyone pushing to try and get the win on turn one, as we say. So that'll be an interesting one. And very closely behind them in P3 was the one and only Bruce Tannock. So yeah, very close numbers between those guys. Dion DeGraaf in P4 with Nick Mitchell in P5. Liam Jacobs, first one there for. Oh no, sorry, a second one there. Sorry, I forgot Dion was. Second person there for Simblacks, taking out P6. Aaron Goodrick in 7th, Jason Cossey in 8th, Leon Weir. What an awesome placing to see him take out P9 up from Div 2 racing last year, where I think I don't know if he actually took 1, 2 or 3 in the championship, but he was pretty damn close behind, and we saw some outstanding racing from him nonetheless. So congratulations there to Leon taking out P9 inside the top 10, and Heath Parlett taking out that top 10 grid spot. So we have a look down here.
All the cars lining up on the grid down below from the chopper cam there. A few cars still waiting to join.
Sorry, the cameras were just having a bit of a moment there. That's better. Sorry about that. That was a bit ugly. That's looking down from turn 1, the whole grid maxed out there. Still waiting on Shane to grid. I wonder if he's going to start from pit lane. Or did he just remembered he might need to go and put that extra fuel into the car before he gets out there.
Yeah, I think he's about to run out of time, so it looks like whether it was his plan or not, he's going to be starting from pit lane. So Ryan Wood in here, it's the pole. Revs come up, lights start coming up.
Green flag, green flag.
And they're away, and looking pretty even off the front row. Ryan Wood taking the lead, Bruce Tennant slotting in behind. A little bit of 3 wide in the mid-pack. Oh, and there's a Simbex car around, rolling back onto the track as well. That wasn't pretty. That's why you hold your brakes when you're spinning out, guys, so that doesn't happen. As Shane Van Gisbergen picks his way through as he starts from pit lane.
A few more people bouncing over each other's tyres there in the background. Long race and carnage at the start. Oh, big hop over there from Ryan.
Oh, a couple of cars trying to go too wide and actually getting away with it through there. That's a tricky spot to try and go side by side, and they got away with it. That lead pack coming through that tight top chicane now, bouncing their way over the curves and into the sweeper. Couple of gaps appearing in the field early, but we've got a nice, reasonably tight top 5 with Ryan Woods making a little bit of a gap over Bruce Tannock. Ryan coming down into the final chicane now with a bit of a gap, then that chase pack in behind. Bruce Tannock and down to graphite, and Nick Mitchell looking for a sniff in the new MRX livery there, a departure from their traditional colours.
And a couple of cars coming in very early into the pit lane, so wow, that was certainly a start, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. So if you guys obviously coming in due to damage, obviously won't make it to the end from here yet. They're not nowhere near that critical lap of lap 19, so they'll be looking at a 2-stopper, but obviously too much damage, deciding they need to get in, take a fast repair and get back out on track, and it'll be a long night for those guys, unfortunately.
Certainly will. Everyone fitting into a bit of a groove now, thankfully. Looking back at the data, looks like the first person to run into some issues was Darren Lobb and Jason Cossey. So we'll have a look at that shortly to see whether or not anyone here at the front is going to be able to make any moves. As I see Dion DeGraaf putting on some big pressure at the moment onto Bruce Tannock there. But further down here, Liam Jacobs doing Craig the hurry along. I think that's him saying hurry up. I have Van Gisbergen behind me.
Yeah, so that's an awkward position to be in, wanting to get past the car in front, but Shane Van Gisbergen very quickly closing in. And actually Craig's just been able to close up to the back of his teammate Brett O'Keefe a little bit there, and a little bit of a team-on-team battle as Shane Van Gisbergen gets on the inside of Liam Jacobs, and Liam just gives him the room, recognises that he's going to lose that slot at some point, so doesn't make it any more time lost than it needs to be, and just salts in behind him now. What will Craig's mindset be? He's wanting to attack his teammate, meanwhile he's got Shane Van Gisbergen closing in under his rear wing now.
Oh, so Brett O'Keefe actually just bailed out of that. He must have had a slowdown going over the curb there through that chicane. So there was 3 cars managing to pass one there very quickly.
Yeah, it looked like Brett would have just overcooked that chicane a little bit, cut the curb, and had to take a slowdown as Shane fires it down the inside and very strong under brakes. And Liam Jacobs looking to take advantage as well and muscles his way through on Craig Mason there to take the spot off, and Craig drops 2 spots in a couple of corners.
Did indeed. And just down here a wee bit, there is a bit of an MRX battle taking place. We got Nick Mitchell there chasing Aaron Goodrick, and looks like he's managed to be able to just slink in down the side. So Ryan Wood has actually had a drama there at some point, and he's dropped out of second place there. So that's
he was leading a moment ago.
Yes. So while we have a... Let's see if there's some data there to look at also. Looks like Ryan Wood's at an off-track moment, so we'll be able to have a review of that shortly too. A couple of the Diesel Ds running around the track there. Jason Kosey and Tony Lynch. Those guys never ever really far apart from one another. I suppose that's good testament to the teamwork that they have and team strategy, sharing setups and working together. They're often found close together. Shane Van Gisbergen taking another spot there as he went past Sean McNamara just there in the background. Sean just showing the nose a little bit. And Van Gisbergen now sitting behind the newly liveried Stefan Adams, Black's entry car there.
Yes, I think Stefan seems to be the only, as he goes a bit deep there at turn 1 and just has to concede to Sean Van Gisbergen, or is he going to try and fight it on the inside of 2? No, he's going to give the spot up there. I was going to say Stefan seems to be the only Simbax guy tonight with that new livery on, so maybe hasn't quite got it rolled out to the rest of the team, and we might see that popping up on some more cars in the coming weeks. It's a nice livery. The old one was one that they've had for quite some time, so good to see a bit of change there and something a bit fresh and new for the Simbax team.
It is, and it is quite a cool one. Again, you know, we'd always said the Simbax liveries stand out really well on track. I don't know if it's just the combination of the yellow and the black, the way that it's worked together, but that one there, just as punchy and looks quite cool. I like the yellow on it. It's almost a little bit limey.
So just on my screen, I've just been watching, and Ryan Wood's been able to get past both of the MRX cars that he was fighting with.
Yep. So now he is looking at closing that gap again towards the back of Dion de Graaf, who is sitting up there in second place, and he is putting the big pressure onto Bruce Tannock, who's only 3 thousandths of a second gap behind him.
Yeah, and I think the ability for Ryan Wood to jump by those MRX cars was the intra-team battle going on between those guys. They might have tripped over each other a little bit, and Ryan was able to creep past, and they're still fighting, and it's allowed Wade Michael to get onto the back of them as well and start putting some pressure on. So those guys want a good result for the team. They might have to start thinking about just settling down, working together as teammates, and making sure they don't concede too much time to the guys that they're fighting.
That's and 2 wide there again through the Villeneuve Curve, and getting in and around underneath Jason Kosey there. Oh, it's got very squirrely. Shane Van Gisbergen again just putting on the monster moves, and you see Leon Ware there, STI entry, giving him enough space to squeeze on by, and now he'll be looking at it going, right, what can I learn from this guy through a couple of corners? And about here you go, not much. As you see him just absolutely gapping it ahead of you. Yeah, for anyone who is wanting to see whether or not you think you're pretty good on the old on the PlayStation and the old controller, Xbox, Forza, doing your thing, Gran Turismo styles, cutting some fast laps, come along, join iRacing, join SuperCars NZ, come and race Van Gisbergen, as he turns up fairly frequently nowadays, and see if you're actually fast or not. This is a guy who started from pit lane, and even though there was some early dramas, lap 7, and he's already up to P7.
Yeah, I think the only thing I've learned from Shane when I've been following him in any races or practice or any session is he can go a hell of a lot quicker than me.
Yeah, yep, no, likewise, and the best thing that I've learnt to do is, not because it makes you any less of a driver, is just let him go. Make it easy, move to the side, let him go past, do what I said before, sit him behind him, see if you can learn something from him through 1 or 2, maybe 3 corners if you're lucky, depending on what track it is. See how he goes through the corners, try and replicate it. The only way you're going to try and go faster is by replicating those others that are faster than you. If there's one man that certainly knows how to pedal a car, it's him.
Yeah, that's right. And what definitely doesn't make you go faster is finding another car. So when you try and hold up a guy that is inevitably going to get past you at some point, you end up costing yourself time. And quite often, it's better to just let him go, not make it too hard for him, and settle back into your own rhythm. As we jump on board with Bruce Tannock here, and he's got down the graph, starting to breathe down his neck a little bit, getting under his rear wing. Probably wanted to get a bit of a move on with Ryan Wood just closing that gap up and approaching, getting close to that, that critical lap marker is starting to come up. Well, 11 laps away, but starting to get into the phase of the race where you might think you'd be able to nearly pit stop.
Yeah. We had a comment from one of our followers at home. I'll read it out for you there, Shana. It's from a lady called Alicia, and she's just made a comment about what we were talking about before. It doesn't matter if you're fast or not. It's about finishing the race. And Shane barely finishes. That goes for any race. So I agree with you there, Alicia. It's definitely not all entirely about going fast. There's certainly an element of consistency and staying on the track and getting those laps done and dusted. To be able to finish the race, you've got to, to win it, you've got to be able to finish it first. But yeah, as far as I'm aware, I'm not too sure what races you follow outside of SuperCars NZ, but the ones that Shane comes along and joins in with us, I'd say he completes 95% of them. Seeing he was last season's number 1 for the SuperCars NZ Championship, he was certainly there and turning up and doing his thing. The races he's done with us in the GT3s also, I don't think I've ever seen him pull out of a race yet. He's been caught up in some tangles in the past. But yeah, maybe that's just the difference between some other leagues that he runs in. He can run here and have a good run, and other people try to think that they're better. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, but definitely to finish first you must finish, and probably finish without a drive-through penalty as well, and that's a factor tonight because the guys only have 20 incident points available to them for a 50-lap race on a track where you can pick up a lot of off-tracks. I was watching Ryan Wood earlier run a couple of wheels into the gravel out of turn 4, and he's up to 11 incident points already, so already over halfway to that drive-through penalty marker. But the highest on incident points currently. Craig Mason's sitting on 14, so Craig is going to have to be super careful for the rest of this race to not pick up those 6 more incident points, and if he does, that's going to find him taken to a pit lane.
There's Sean McNamara out there at the moment, running around there in P12, just behind Darren Lobb, who's had another flyer of a start from further down the grid. I don't think he managed to do a qualifying time, Darren, so he's showing up 10 grid spots there into P11 at the moment.
Yeah, I think Darren was caught up in that first lap drama as well, which we still haven't gone back and had a look at. Hint, hint.
Yep. Yep. You can see a little bit there. But yeah, so that's good. We've still got a few more comments rolling through. So yeah, we've opened the can of worms. So Daniel joining us saying consistency is the first step to racing. Patience is a close second. Could not agree more with you there, Daniel. Consistency first, patience second, and with that, anything's possible. Cole had made a comment, and it was pretty much exactly the same along as what you said there, Yoda. To finish first you must finish. And Leisha's followed up with, I mean, it goes for any race you are in, let the front pack take each other out. Shane is a good driver. So yeah, it is, and we do see that from time to time, and there certainly was a lot of that. I suppose with the Div 1 series last season, there were a lot of tripping over each other's toes, and I think you have to appreciate that these cars are certainly challenging enough to drive in real life, and then when you get a person like Van Gisbergen come along and he's spoken openly about the iRacing V8s, saying that they are incredibly more difficult than what was the Gen 2 variant. Very slippery and very hard to hold on to. There's a very good reason why I'm up here at the broadcasting lounge along with Shane. We choose not to drive these. I know for me that I'm absolutely rubbish in them. I do brilliant reverse donuts and chew through a set of tyres in about 30 seconds. So that's where my skill set levels out with these bad boys here. So to be able to sit back and watch these guys go hammer and toe and race as close as what they do and manage to do it fast, I give credit to any of those drivers out there.
Yeah, it's a really good effort from all of these guys. They've all earned the right to call themselves Div 1 drivers. And I mean, you just have to look at the qualifying times tonight. In a field featuring a couple of real-life supercar drivers, we've got a split of just over 1 second between all the qualifying times. So that is pretty impressive.
Yes, it certainly is amazing, actually amazing to see. This is Aaron Goodrick following Shane Van Gisbergen now, as he was not long ago passed. I think while this is sort of spreading out and simmering around a wee bit again, I'm going to go back towards the race start and have a bit of a look and see if we can pinpoint what might have happened. Going back, having a look here, Darren Lobb showing as off track. Yeah,
that was
so
the reaction to the initial incident. Bit of checking up, Darren getting into the back of a Simback's car and going off track himself.
Yep, so that's Jason Cossey that we're looking at now. So it's like Aaron Goodrick and maybe I'm going to have to say Liam Jacobs tripping over each other's toe there. Maybe Cole Buchan actually. So we'll have a look there. So this is Cole Buchan's view. right in the middle of... Oh no, that's Cole there, so he's running the new livery as well. So
I think you called it correctly. The 069 Liam Jacobs was the one that was involved in the initial contact there.
oh yeah, there we go. So it was indeed, and then just pinballed by the rest as they were coming through. So yes. Liam has actually been sitting in the pit lane now for a whopping 6 minutes and 50 seconds. So I imagine he's probably sitting back watching someone else there at home doing their thing. That's Heath Parlett getting tags as we saw. So yeah, so that's pretty much the opening.
The part of that I really hate, that I think made it a lot worse, is Liam just didn't get on that brake after he spun, and you see him roll back in front of the pack. If he gets on that brake, potentially that saves a lot of harm. So we urge everybody that's out there racing, if you have a moment, don't always think about it in the heat of the moment, but try and remember to jump on that brake pedal, hold that, and try and hold a more predictable line for your car as you're spinning out, and that will potentially protect a lot of guys from getting involved in something that they don't need to be involved in.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. So other than that, there was pretty much the opening part of the race. We could have a quick look and see what Ryan Wood did to himself to drop out of P1 now that he's managed to work himself up to P2 again.
So coming down towards the final corner there, gets on the brakes, runs it wide, takes the trip across the gravel, and I'm guessing picks
And a
up
big
a slowdown as a result.
And there you go, so you see him trying to bleed that time off there at the same time whilst trying to hold position as well, which I don't think is going to work. He's gone around through the next corner there, you'll see him, yeah, he's had to bleed more of that off again. There you go, so it certainly didn't do him any favours, that small error. Okay, we'll have a look here. So, lap 15 of 50, 21 minutes in. Bruce Tannock still out there leading, and falling in behind him in the distance is Ryan Wood, just under a second away behind him, but that won't take too long to close down. Behind Ryan we can see Dion de Graaf.
And quite a nice touch there, Ryan running his real life Super 2 livery on the Commodore, so very cool to see.
We'll put this on here because we'll get a nice good view of it in a minute. Down here through the braking zone should be, look at that, isn't that an awesome looking wagon? So throughout the field, next closest battles that we've got taking place at the moment is Wade Michael following Nick Mitchell. That's down to just after half a second there. Nick maybe just easing off a little bit, just falling into a bit more of a rhythm for himself. You can see that gap back from Aaron Goodrick where they were racing pretty close together before. Actually Nick was in front of him, so...
Yes, I wonder if Nick maybe just chewed through a bit too much of his tyres in that battle, and maybe having to back off a little bit to manage those tyres through to get into that ideal pit stop phase. We're not too far away from the critical lap now. We're on lap 16, that critical lap is lap 19, but...
Little birdie's just whispered in my ear and told me to have a look at this.
Oh.
And that would be a bit of an indication as to where a couple of those positional spots have gone. And now, if you consider it, because I did see Wade Michael actually go past, so Nick's been actually able to wrap him back up, so he is actually moving back forward through those numbers.
Yeah, so that's a little bit disappointing, that move there. There was a definite opening of the wheel from Shane and running Nick out of space there, as Ryan fires it down the inside on Bruce on Bruce Tannock, and takes the lead.
There we go. So it's back to where he was. It does show him being up one spot. That was because Shane had started from pit lane. So those guys back into their effective race start positions.
Yeah, meanwhile Shane Langersbergen up to P4. Obviously we saw the move on Nick Mitchell was not overly clean, but he has been charged his way through the field and sitting P4 now, and probably not too far away from closing in on that podium battle.
That's it. So this season, if people at home weren't too familiar, we do not have live race control, but what we have done, and we ran it in the past and it was very successful, is we have what we call the decision maker. So you can find out more information about the decision maker on our community page. Essentially what he is drivers can report after the race any incidents that may have taken place or undue driving standards, along with sending in video clip of said offence. The decision maker will have a look at that, along with a replay that we supply to them, so he can then go and source out other views and other angles and bits and pieces, and then can hand down penalty. And what we've seen this season so far is quite a hefty penalty point deduction happening for average and poor driving standards. So really keeping these drivers on their toes to perform the best that they can within the parameters that they should be driving.
Yeah, that's right. We said at the start, we want hard racing, we want fun racing, but we also want clean racing. So occasionally guys do take it a bit too far. The heat of battle gets to them on the odd occasion, and they make silly decisions, do silly things, and it's important to make sure that those silly things are policed appropriately. And obviously the job of live race control was getting pretty full on for Sean and Nick, and Sean decided he would rather be back in the race seat this season, which is fair enough, and they made the call to bring the decision maker back to help make sure the correct decisions are applied when things do get taken a bit too far out on track.
That's just looking off the back bumper of Leon Ware here in P8 in the SDI. Oh, excuse me, the SDI Commodore there, as he has Tony Lynch and Darren Lobb battling it out behind him. He got a good run out of that final corner chicane there, and we can see Tony doing very good to drag the brake to get back and close in, and again closing that gap. 45. Tony Lynch doing some fantastic racing, and he's certainly got his eyes pointed, certainly has his eyes pointed forward at the back of Leon's car, and the man behind him, Darren Lobb, previous series with SuperCars NZ champion, either waiting to capitalise off a Tony mistake or going to capitalise off a Tony Leon mistake and round up two cars for one. So we'll keep a bit of an eye on this as this plays out. Leon just locking a brake there and coming a bit unstuck and having to shortcut over that ripple strip. With the back of his car now, Shane, a bit unsettled, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. He just got in that little bit hot on trying to get the car off the corner, a little bit of extra right foot, and just lining the rear tyres up. While we're sitting on the rear wing of Leon there, I noticed a little bit of difference in the styles from Leon to Tony. It looked like Leon taking a probably more traditional V8 touring car line where you brake early, turn late, and straighten up the exit. As Tony has a dive and there's contact, and
sorry, Leon.
the apology coming over the mic instantly from Tony, and it looks like he's going to slow up and try and redress that.
Mate.
So good stuff, that's what we want to see. He made a mistake, he owned the mistake, and he's put it right on track, and that one won't need to be taken any further. What I was saying about the driving styles, for Leon,
Yes.
he seems to take the brake early, turn late, and get the car straight and pointed off the corner, and that seems to allow him to accelerate away from Tony, where Tony's taken the brake slightly later, carry the momentum into the corner and turn in early and use that momentum to get the car turned, and then drive the car off the corner after that, which slows down the exit a little bit, but allows him to carry more speed into the corner and through the mid-corner. So if he can get close enough under the rear wing on approach, that's going to allow him to brake, carry that speed into the corner down the inside and make a move. We saw him try and pull that off at turn 1 at the start of this lap, but it didn't quite come off and contact was made.
There we go. Wow, it's certainly been a spicy start to the race. Just saw this come up on the view. So Shane and Dion DeGraaf there having their wee play. Shane's managed to make that work down through the inside there. That moves him up into P3. Dion following him. Ryan Wood still in first. Bruce Tannock in second.
And we have passed the critical lap marker, so anytime now these guys can fuel up and get home, and probably only a few laps away from the ideal pit window, which will be lap 25. Split the race in half, get the best out of each set of tyres, and most of the guys don't think that you're not getting much more than 25 laps out of a set, so I think we are going to see most of the field dive in on lap 25, which is just 4 laps away after this one.
Yeah, there you go. Car 47, not and only Craig Mason, as he is sitting there in 13th spot currently, chasing down Daniel Nolan in the 000 car. Doing a great job of doing a good job of keeping the car moving and transitioning underweight through the chicane, and looked like it was pointed in the right direction, and then just asked a bit too much too soon, and got on the go-go juice, gave it a wee bit of a squirrel up. Let's put him at risk now from Jai Schultz. We haven't spoken much about young Jai Schultz tonight, new entrant for the series, and both those cars making a late decision move for the pit lane.
Yeah, and something that we haven't talked about with the pit lane strategy is the pit entry here feeds off basically straight ahead where turn 10 goes left to come into the final chicane. You go straight ahead to take the pit entry. What that means is you can carry a lot more speed into there through the braking zone for the final chicane. So very tricky if you're sitting in there and don't realise that there's a car a little bit ahead that's braking for the final corner. It can be very easy to accidentally run into the back of someone there, and if you do have a congested entrance, it can also be it can also mean you have to sacrifice some time on the way in.
Craig didn't stop.
I wonder if he had brought up those 20 incident points and had to come in for a penalty. I can bring that up right now and tell you that yes, he has reached 20 incident points.
So there you go. That might have been a bit confusing for Jai. He might not have wanted to have come in just at that moment. But what it's done is where Jai has come out is sitting right in behind Shane Van Gisbergen in P2 there. Jai, very, very fast driver, new to the series. If anyone's going to possibly be able to learn something from him, it could potentially be him. So we'll see how that plays out towards the end. He's going to have to certainly stint these tyres nicely though. You see the car just starting to, still wiggling a wee bit under now, some more fuel and cold tyres. I don't think we're too far away from seeing a few more people come through.
Beyond de Graaf is just on his way out, having taken his stop.
Yep. And Bruce has done his as well. So the gap from Bruce there, we'll see Dion coming around the corner in the background shortly. There he is. So 5 second gap margin between those two. Ryan Wood still pushing on, and that car looking like it might be reaching its limitations there.
Yeah, certainly plenty of understeer at turn 1 there as he ran deep and would have had to delay that throttle input on the exit as he edged closer to that gravel trap.
Yep.
Picking up gravel on the outside of turn 4 there, just getting away without an off track. And I can tell you that because I'm watching his incident points. We saw Craig Mason having to take a drive through when he reached 20 points. Ryan Woods on 18 himself, so he's not too far away from having to take that drive through penalty.
100%. Right, just a couple more things from the chat to read out, and I'll let you answer this one. Comment from Daniel again, most recent one. Was Pukekohe scanned? Was that confirmed?
So we did have an update come through maybe about a month ago from James Anderson confirming that he had it on authority from Motorsport New Zealand that iRacing did come down and scan Pukekohe before it closed. So that was done. Still no confirmation as to when it will be complete and ready for release, but we did get confirmation that it was scanned.
And all you can hear across New Zealand tonight is applause, because that is some freaking fantastic news, and it was certainly a very cool thing. James Anderson jumping on that as quick as what he did by setting up that petition. There'd already been some murmurs, but he was the one that got the ball rolling and showed Motorsport New Zealand and iRacing just how important it was for New Zealand motorsport that track be remembered and what would you call it, encapsulated in time as the way that it was, to be able to live on forever in a digital form. So not many tracks get that kind of prestige, and for Pukekohe to be one of those and to eventually be what will be the first iRacing New Zealand track, I'm looking forward to it. Absolutely can't wait.
Yeah, 100% agree with you. It's always been an amazing track to go and watch racing at. Obviously, there's a lucky few guys that have been able to race around there.
Correct.
I'm not one of them. I wish I was.
Yep. Oh, your mic just cut out there for a little bit there. Sorry, Shane, we just missed the end of your message.
I had a feeling it might have cut out as everything briefly froze up on me. I think what I said was I can't wait to get to experience that in the sim.
Correct, yeah, and that's the thing, and this is the awesome thing, and a big thank you to iRacing as well, for the platform that we run on. We've said it before and we'll say it again. Thank you, because there is nowhere else really in the world, other than doing it in real life, that you can, well, probably not even in real life either, is jump in any car at any time and go to a scanned track which is accurate to the real life track in any car that you want within iRacing, and go and cut laps just like the professionals do.
That's right, and as you were saying, that it looked like Sean McNamara had a rather wild pit entry. I think he just missed the pit wall on the way in there, but managed to get it pulled up.
Yep. Oh, Macca has said to us that if we manage to catch him on the live stream, having a moment, or i.e. having a crash, and it's on the live stream, that this season he will be, if that gets caught out, he'll be putting a donation through to prostate cancer awareness charity. So I think he said it was $5 or $10 per incident or per race. So if you see that and we don't acknowledge it, make sure you call us out on it and remind us, and we'll be sure to put it out there to remind him that he needs to pay that dividend. So hopefully there'll be a few more drivers out there jumping on the bandwagon, putting the pressure on themselves to do better, and if they do make a mistake, they can go and pay some dues to a healthy cause. A few more comments. They have been rolling through tonight. It's been really awesome to see guys there at home. Thank you, and lasses as well from Alicia. So another one. So we had. So Alicia had made a comment, continued on there, saying that she would love to see Surface Paradise get scanned and added into iRacing, hence why I jumped forward down to Daniel's comment before about Pukekohe, but Alicia would be very keen to see Surface Paradise scanned into that. I would love to see it as well. Fantastic, awesome, close road racing circuit, and I don't think any of us would be hesitant to get out there and try and muscle those cars over the curbs like the way that those guys do. Shane, are there any other favourites with inside the V8 series that we don't currently have that you would be, if you could have it tomorrow, that you would like to see iRacing bring forward for us?
Well, sticking to the street circuit theme, Adelaide's always been a favourite of mine. I'd love to see that out there. There'd be the opportunity potentially that they could go and scan the old full Grand Prix circuit as well and add that in.
Yeah, that would be very, very cool indeed. So yeah, a bit of a backwards and forwards conversation there. Daniel jumping back in saying he'd like to just see them pull the finger out for Gen 3. I don't know if that means scanning it in for iRacing or just to get those cars right. Let us know, Daniel. Certainly a lot of chit chat about parity still now, even this far into the race season.
Yes, and I wonder if that's what iRacing are waiting for those cars to be right, have the parity right, and then they'll go, right, now we're going to add them to the sim.
That's right. They wouldn't want to go scan them when there's such large conversations around fairness, because I think, as much as we're both Holden fans.
Oh, Jason Costa having a big moment finding the Alco.
Didn't even say his name. Didn't say his name, but I knew something was going to happen. That's why I've been sitting with Jason for all that time. No, I didn't, but that's unlucky there, Jace. Next person I'm going to try and trip up, Aaron Goodrick. Aaron. That's not going to happen. So, if we look here, Ryan Wood, SVG, both come in, and Shane, not healthy.
No, I wonder if he's managed to get into the back of Ryan on the way into pit lane there.
Well, they've managed to come through each other there on the way in. I'll have a quick squiz at this in a minute once those guys drop and get underway and go. I'm interested to see how long each of them sit there for. They've managed to stretch that out really, really well.
Yes, come to that 29, so stretching the tyres out nicely, almost getting to the end of that fuel run.
Wow, Well, there you go. So Shane 24.45 versus Ryan's 26 flat.
And those guys dropping into P3 and P5, and I think the reason for that is maybe to do with what you're going to show us shortly.
So having a look back at these guys coming into pit lane. Oh gosh.
Wow, that was all a bit silly, wasn't it?
Yep. I don't know if Shane felt that Ryan was brake checking him coming in before the cone. I don't know if they'd slowed down to what was the official entry speed there, but hopefully that's done and dusted now with Shane being further up the field from Ryan, and there's no other sillies on track. As we jump back to Ryan Wood going around the outside of Nick Mitchell MRX as he goes and fires it back to the inside there. And what a great move, nice crossover move. Ryan back down the inside there. Nick with a little bit more pace around there on the outside. Ryan moving out wide, giving some racing room. It's nice bit of racing between those two. Nick just held up a little bit off what would be the ideal line coming in. Ryan warming up his tyres clearly. We'll go with that, won't we?
Yeah, that's probably as good an explanation as we can probably come up with.
Sure, we can come up with other stuff. But yes. Now, again, I'm just going to go back to the chat group because I like engaging with these guys while they're engaging with us and engaging with one another. So Cole, what do we got actually? Oh gosh, it's still untidy down there between those two. And Ryan actually helping Nick off to the side. Ryan's not giving him much room, so there might be some chit-chats to the decision maker later on all about that.
And Ryan Wood, I believe, now has brought up his... Well, he's actually come to 31 incident points. So I think he already had... I think he probably got to that drive-through while he and Shane were doing all that stuff through the pit entry. He took his pit stop and he's come back around again to serve his drive-through. Yeah. And now he's only 9 away from another one.
Wow. That might be something else that's considered as well. So if there's any complaints from drivers tonight about driving standards and a high incident count like that in Div 1, it may result in some other harsher penalties, not just points. It might be miss a round or two here or there. So we'll see what happens with that. Up the front though, Mr. Tannock still doing his thing, leading the race quite nicely too. 5 seconds up the field from
Down the graph.
Sorry, yes, just as I was changing some data there on screen, the move, I'd hit my own technical glitch there, sorry folks, the microphone cut out. Yeah, right, as Shane says. Yeah, so just 5 seconds up the field from Dion de Graaf, and another 10 seconds back from them as Shane Van Gisbergen in third. Lap 32 of 50, going back to our chit-chats over here in the corner. Daniel was watching through iRacing, but why not get some commentary too? Good stuff, guys. So thanks very much, Daniel. We appreciate that. We love being here doing the commentary up here in the broadcasting lounge. We've actually got some wriggle room at the moment up in the broadcasting lounge. Some renovations at foot, and some extra seats being put in with red tape being put across it. Do you want to let the people know a bit more about what we're hoping might happen within the broadcasting lounge team moving forward?
Yeah, so we'll put the call out to see if anybody would like to join the Broadcasting Lounge team to broadcast the TCR races on a Wednesday night. So
Yeah.
if you want to give it a go, bit of commentary, maybe you fancy running the technical side of it as well, hit up SuperCars NZ on Messenger through the Facebook page and we can help you out.
And I'm pretty sure it's still going ahead, but tomorrow night we may be getting our first TCR stream.
That's extremely exciting.
So I'll be hopefully confirming with it's actually it's one of the drivers from SuperCars NZ. I'll be confirming with him later on just to make sure that it's still a go-ahead for tomorrow night. So he has said be keen to come along and have a bit of a nudge at doing some commentary. It might not just be us two by ourselves doing it. I think I put the hard word on Mr. McNamara about possibly coming along and having some fun and poking the bear a wee bit at some of our TCR drivers out there with those ridiculous cars that they drive. Ridiculously fun cars that they drive, aren't they, Shane?
They very much are. Good little front wheel drive cars. Takes a bit of getting used to when you're used to racing rear wheel drive cars around the track.
Yep.
Where a rear wheel drive car, you can use the throttle to help turn the car out of the corner. You try and do that in a front wheel drive car and it just wants to go straight to the outside of the corner.
It's there's nothing quite like racing them, really. It's something else. It really is, and great close battles. We're getting good numbers turning up inside that series. So anyone also out there looking at doing weekly sponsorships, feel free to get in touch with us as well, because with the way that that's been growing recently, we might be looking at moving that towards more of a series type of sponsorship as well. So other options there for that, as there was Darren Lobb getting really close to the back of Nick Mitchell, and even probably giving his rear bumper a bit of a nudge just as he come into pit lane there. I'm wondering if Darren's taking another stop for fuel, or whether he's brought up penalties and has taken a drive-through.
He is taking a drive-through, and somebody else has got a black flag against his name is Jason Costa, also on 20 incident points. So
there we go. So Jason will be coming in shortly, I imagine. So there we go. So Darren on the way out again with another 10 or 20 points to his name?
Another 20. And Sean did give them a heads up about the 20 incident point limit, and a few guys still getting caught out by that. Worth noting, Craig Mason, since he took his drive-through, he has been very well behaved. He hasn't picked up any more points, still sitting on 20.
There we go. Is that because he's not here?
No, I believe he's still connected and still lapping.
Nope.
Oh no, he's not still lapping. Okay, that would explain why he's still on 20.
There we go. So TCRs, I might have to give you a bit of a message tomorrow to make an announcement about that. That would be an extra spot for Diverse Technologies as well, getting an extra stream in there for the week. So big shout out to Brendan at Diverse Technologies. I brought up some info before about Diverse Technologies, so I'll just have a wee read. So Diverse Technologies NZ, they're on Facebook, so find them through there. Creator and designer of anything button box related for your needs that you could imagine and want. He's got some ones there straight ready for rock and roll. He'll do custom ones for you, and that's anything from racing to truck simulators through to flight sim button boxes as well, so he's not shy to get amongst it and do bits and pieces. Rev light bars and counters, shift lights, gear selections and flag, display boxes. Very cool. So a lot of them carbon wrapped, but it does also branch out into doing some wood veneer finishing ones as well. So for some of those guys at home that run the old truck rigs, want something a bit more custom, then he's got those as well. Good prices on them as well, and he also runs a warranty for those. If there's any issues, feel free to take them back and have a look, or help you try and diagnose any issues at home. A lot of the time with these devices, it's a simple plug and play kind of thing, and all you need to do is unplug it from the USB and plug it back in, and there she goes. It's all up and away running. So awesome. Thank you to Brendan at Diverse. I think he may be racing tonight on the Active 2 Series, and I hope he's having a good fun time over there. So Bruce Tannock just getting by lap traffic there of, I think, Ryan Cottrell. Yep, that's Ryan there in his all blacked out Mustang. Now I will just change the camera angle quickly, because I spotted this earlier when I was looking at Ryan's car. It's actually not all black. Well, I mean, it is black, but he's got other bits on it. So he's got the Allports under the wing. He's got SuperCars banner across the top, which he's actually blacked out as well. It's got ghosted flame stripes down the side of the car, and down along the door sills he's got his sponsors or preferred what do you call sim racing products, or screens and gear that he uses and stuff like that. So it's very cool. I just thought it was just a plain black Mustang. Oh, and then also on the back of it, on the spoiler, it's got the official SuperCars V8 logo on there too. So here I was thinking it was just a blacked out Mustang. There's actually a lot more to it, and I reckon it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks very nice when you're able to get a good close-up look at it.
Yeah. Nick Mitchell still getting closely followed around the track by Wade Michael there, so even though Nick had dropped off earlier after that wee rub and bump with Shane and got back past Wade, Wade's done a great job of hanging on to the back of him, pushing forward. Lap 37 of 50, the guy's just reaching the 57 minute mark. Everyone going really well for the first Enduro of the season, with a big shake up from doing the normal heat racing each night to coming in and doing this. I think everyone's doing a superb job.
Yeah, it's definitely a big difference to what they're used to, even compared to the Enduro rounds we had last season. It's another step up from that. So
Yep.
good to see the guys stepping their game up and going to the longer race format and able to deal with that quite well.
Indeed, indeed. So having a quick look back at our chit chat corner, because there was quite a wee bit there. I've sort of been picking and pulling comments out to read out and that. Daniel also saying the Sydney Motorsport Park needs to be scanned. It's a permanent fixture. You know, we should be getting in there and getting that one done. We've got Scott Pickering across the ways, doing his thing, talking about some other online racing programs along the lines of the Assetto Corso and stuff like that. So they have some other bits and pieces that they have available. But I think if you look at the overall numbers of people that come on into league racing and hosted sessions, the iRacing numbers well and truly stomp on those. It's not to say that those other programs aren't very good or good at all. Just seems to be that, yeah, I'm not too sure what it is. iRacing just seems to put it on. We'll see. There's a lot of development happening with iRacing in the near coming future. More tracks, more cars, variations for weather coming up very shortly, which has been a big talking point. Now it's coming up to a couple of years since they sort of announced that they were going to be bringing it out, and it's certainly not an easy task to get right. So they obviously want to have the leading edge on that and make it as right.
Yeah, that's right. Just coming back to the comments about Sydney Motorsport Park, I'm not necessarily such a fan of that. Maybe not helped by the fact that I think we've seen a little bit too much of it in the
I
COVID
know.
years.
Yep. I was just going to say, yeah. I have to be honest. When I heard after the weekend's racing with the official Gen 3 supercars on the weekend, when they spoke about some races coming up, and they mentioned Sydney Motorsport Park, I sort of did a bit of a cringe and a shiver. Have we not seen enough of that one that we could look at doing some other tracks? And I think and I've said his name probably far too many times tonight for us anyway. Shane had mentioned during one of the talks, they're talking about the lack of New Zealand round this year and some of the tracks that they're revisiting this season versus tracks that they haven't been to for a while. I think he had said, even though he's had great success there in the past, that Sydney Motorsport Park possibly could have taken a back seat to some other tracks. I think he might have mentioned the likes of like Winton and stuff like that, where the racing is challenging and takes it back more to sort of the grassroots of where the races were run and won, and still highly supported by those communities today.
Yeah, that's right. Winton missing out on the calendar this year. Also, Queensland Raceway hasn't been on the calendar for a few years. Part of that has been to do with the facilities, but they've had some big upgrades there, and Tony Quinn has recently announced that it wasn't in consideration it was never in consideration for next year's calendar, so that's a little bit disappointing. He did also make it clear that a New Zealand round at Taupō is very much on the cards, so that's very exciting, but yeah, disappointing to see Queensland Raceway continuing to be left off the schedule.
Yeah, that's so. Shane getting ever closer now with 9 laps remaining to the back of Dion de Graaf. Dion still sitting in second, but I don't imagine for long. Going back to one of our other comments, Daniel did get back to us in regards to his comment earlier about wanting to get sort out Gen 3, and he replied he'd like to see both. So he'd like to see them in iRacing and the troubles that they've been having with those cars, or I suppose the communications of troubles around those cars be sorted. But Daniel's in our corner, so Daniel's got my vote for tonight. Thank you, Daniel. He said happy to leave the Fords in the bottom half of the ladder. We agree.
Yeah, 100% agree.
You know, even so much so, you know, I could be currently sitting on Dion de Graaf with Shane following him around, but I just don't know about giving a Mustang that much, you know, airtime. Tongue in cheek, tongue in cheek. Look, I'll make it up. There's a Mustang, and it's getting very close to the back of Leon Weir. Leon not having enough time to react to cover off and make a defensive line move there. But doing a good job there of having a nice battle with Darren Lobb. Darren up 14 spots into P7. Now just having passed Leon Weir in P8.
And we've just had a change for P2 as well. Shane Ingersbergen just finding his way by Dion de Graaf.
Rightio, let's have a squiz at that.
Looks like Dion just running a touch wide at turn 4, kicking up the dirt, compromising his exit, and Shane able to just use that momentum to get alongside, and then Dion thinking better than trying to go side by side through that turn 5 chicane and just continuing the position there.
Yep. Now, I don't think he did crash, because I can see on here that also says that he entered pit lane. Sean McNamara took a second pit stop there, just a short one, 11 seconds I'm guessing, so just to take some extra fuel, or maybe swap tyres, I'm not too sure, but let's drop him down to P12. So he was actually, I think he was just ahead of Leon prior to going in, so
There is some crash data there for Sean.
Yeah, then it says entered pit lane, so I'm imagining it's just the speed that they run off the end of the track there into the pit lane, because it comes off the track. Nice and tidy in there as far as I can see.
Yeah, you may be correct there. That's interesting.
Yes. I think it's just the departure speed of them leaving the track comes up as crash data, so I've got a few of those through there. Yeah, chit chat's been awesome tonight. Scott picking up on one of our replays before, saying another pro pushing guys off with a sort of eyes wide open emoji. So imagine which one that was that we saw before.
Yeah.
Scott also adding in his picks of what should be scanned and immortalised inside iRacing there. Some tracks that I've certainly never heard of, but you may have. Salvador, great street circuit.
I'm not familiar with that one.
Cascais, guessing it might be a French track. Caldwell Park, Wellington 500, lol.
Wellington 500 would be great, but I'm not 100% sure the streets that were used in the original layout are all actually there anymore.
Yeah, well, that's true. They have done a lot of changes and development. Welcome back, Alicia. She has said bring back Phillip Island and Gold Coast as tracks that get run on a regular. So
yeah, Phillip Island. I believe Gold Coast is back this year.
I think it is. Yeah. Look what's happening here in the battle pack towards the end of the race.
Right side down, right side.
Mitchell closing in on the back of Aaron Goodrick. So Aaron, Rosetown Motor Group there with MRX labelling on his car too. And
good, my bro.
he's got Nick Mitchell from Team MRX and Riggs very close to him with 5 laps to go.
Yeah, so getting into those dying stages of the race now. Now is the time where if you've been saving anything, you've got everything left in reserve in the tyres to use it, and it looks like Nick is starting to unleash the potential that his car has got left in it and looking to challenge his teammate Aaron Goodrick there.
So, and I don't know whether or not there's enough time left in the race, or enough laps left in the race. The way that Bruce is running tonight, being very commanding at the moment in his lead. 3.1 seconds behind him currently, Shane Van Gisbergen. So we might not be able to see Shane pull that time margin in, but we may not see him make a pass for the number one at the end.
Well, Shane's previous lap was only 4/10 quicker than Bruce, so
Yeah.
pretty close times between them. His best lap was a second quicker. So I wonder if Shane's just happy to take P2, sit him behind. Maybe he's been a bit conservative with the tyres, maybe short fueled a little bit in the pit lane to save some time.
Yep. Scott Pickering has suggested that we throw a yellow.
Might be a bit late on the day for that.
Well, they've got race time, just not many laps left to achieve anything along in that regard.
Yeah.
But yeah, Daniel, I agree with your comment. He has said that SVG is God anyway, king of NASCAR. He certainly did have an awesome race there, and I can tell you it was probably, in all honesty, it's probably the only time I've actually tuned in for a NASCAR race, knowing that there was one coming up. I've seen some oval stuff in the past, and then there's been very little of it after a few laps. Got very bored of it. I suppose it's hard when you don't really know who to follow, and it's a bit hard to keep up with strategies as the race goes on. But yeah, had an absolute ripper of an event, and I really hope that he does look at pursuing something in that regard in the near future. It'll be interesting to see how he goes with the mixture of oval racing and some of the street and race circuit racing that they do also. It's all about opening doors and making connections with people, and he's been doing that for quite a while. And yeah, great racing by him a week ago there with NASCAR.
Yeah, I have a feeling there's probably not too many NASCAR drivers that are that interested in coming over and trying to drive supercars at the moment, given the way the guy that made them all look silly had a bit of an average weekend in Townsville.
Yeah. It's a bit of a cross reflection. I think this season sort of had, don't say it with too much strength, but you'd almost want to say this season should be a bit of a throwaway, really. It was quite a short turnaround to get these cars sorted, and what they thought was sorted was not sorted, and other bits that weren't sorted appeared to be pretty much bang on, but there's still too much debate around what's actually happening with them. So I don't know. I take this season as a bit of a throwaway personally.
Yeah, and it certainly seems as though something's not quite right with Shane's car. We've seen him have the steering issues at Darwin that have carried over to Townsville as well. So I actually wondered to myself whether the team have considered giving him the spare car. They do have a spare car, the wild card that is set aside for Declan Fraser and Craig Lyons to race in the Enduros this season, which Declan Fraser also pulled out at Darwin. Chuck him in that car, pull his car apart, get that fixed up, and use that for the wild card.
Yeah, very good thought there. It would be to see, because it seems that some other cars that had gremlins, as you suppose you could call them, a lot of those cars have also then been in quite significant significant issues on track, or a collision, crash, whatever you want to call it, and they've gone through and pulled a lot of those cars apart, replaced out a lot of those the items that are set bits and pieces, and now those cars seem to be running a lot better. I know they were, they're obviously trying to tighten up the series to make racing more competitive and allow the ability to see more passing, which there definitely has been. We see more people winning races, which is good also to see. but it's certainly not good when you reflect from the couple of years gone by with the other really fast drivers who are usually towards the front, are well down the pecking order, and then other drivers who I suppose were outside of the top 10 and top 15 and in previous seasons gone by are now battling it out for podium positions. Take nothing away from them, they're all great drivers, but just sometimes you just got to think that something's just not quite right.
Yeah, that's right, and hey, it's great to see guys like Mark Winterbottom picking up the win, and Matt Stone Racing getting their first win. Great to see those sort of things, and it was always part of the idea was to make it possible for the smaller teams to be able to compete, but seeing those drivers that we know are great drivers that are struggling at the moment, there's clearly something that's not quite right there. And yeah, we hear all the talk about parities. Apparently the Mustangs can't look after the rear tyres, and while Anton De Pasquale was able to take a Mustang to the win, it was on a different strategy, and
Yes.
there was no other Mustangs in the top 10, so that probably does point towards there being an issue there.
Well, there was an interesting one that I saw that came up afterwards, and I think it was, I'm correct, I'm not 100% correct, but it might have been like from Ryan Walkinshaw or something, saying pretty much the only reason why that win happened was because they had had a poor race the day before or had crashed out or something, and had a full set of unused green tyres at his disposal, so that's why they were able to have a better race strategy throughout that event.
Yeah, that's right. He had the electrical gremlins on Saturday as Shane Van Gisbergen has a look at the lead and takes the lead off Bruce Tannen.
Yep.
And they're on the final lap as well, so Shane Van Gisbergen
Would you
leaving it
believe me if I told you
pretty
when I
late.
caught from the pit, Shane?
Yeah, let Leon pass.
There was some talk at the start of whether or not anyone would turn around and ask Shane if he would give a position back before the end of the race following, quote, team orders. I can imagine if these were realistic cars, and we could see the driver's hands moulding into particular shapes and bits and pieces, that you would see a certain one finger pointed up through the back glass, saying things like that tonight.
Well, he's just driven it down the grass.
Yep.
Maybe that's his way of saying, look, I could even drive it down the grass and still beat you, so.
That was incredibly close. 0.029 of a second between those guys coming across the line there. Well done to Shane Van Gisbergen on his win. Bruce Tannen in second. Dion de Graaf rounding out P3, and what a monumental drive from Dion. Well done. Just stayed in there tonight, kept it nice and consistent, and has done a good job to hang on to P3. Aaron Goodrick still holding on to P4 over Nick Mitchell. That was great to see those two having some fun battles together tonight. Wade Michael did fall away off the end of Nick towards the end, but still coming across the line there in 6, up 5 spots from where he started. It was a fantastic race for him. Darren Lobb, P7 up 14. Outstanding drive from the back there. Leon Weir just moving up 1 spot from where he started. He'll be certainly happy about his performance tonight, finishing P8. Tony Lynch taking position 9, up 4 from where he started, and just very closely behind him, Jai Schultz, P10, up 12 spots to make that P10 as well. So that there, I'd say, is probably one of the better drives of a guy new to the series, straight into Div 1, and come here tonight and take up 12 grid spots to finish in P10, I would say that's probably almost man of the match in my books.
Yeah, it's a pretty good effort. Massive improvement, up 12 spots, and Darren Lobb was up 14 as well.
Yep. But he's a seasoned driver for us. I was not taking anything away from Dion being up 14, but yeah, Jai obviously new driver for us, new to Div 1, and to come from towards the back of the field to finish in P10, I'd say that's he's done a great job to do that.
So I was just giving a quick look at Sean McNamara's strategy to work out where he was when he took that second stop versus where he finished. So he was 7th before the second stop and he's finished 11th. So if it was a genuine strategy call, it hasn't worked. I do wonder if potentially he just didn't quite get the fuel right on the first stop.
Yeah, yep, no, that's true. I hear what you're saying there. So, yeah, still up 3 spots from where he started, but yeah, probably kicking himself a wee bit. But yeah, well, that was certainly cool. So that was round 3 of the Allports Motorsport SuperCars NZ V8 SuperCars Championship. This was Div 1 that we were streaming tonight, and but it was also round 1 of the Endurance Series. It was Diverse Technologies Race Week sponsorship round, the Diverse Technologies 200. So that's a big one for Brendan. 50 lapper the guys have done tonight, so that's really awesome to see. Different points for our championship race versus our endurance series race, so the guys have another couple of those coming up throughout the series. Make sure you tune in with us again next week on Tuesday as we take the Div 2 cars to where, Shane?
Bear with me.
Rah.
Next week, the Div 2 cars will be racing at Detroit.
Wow, street circuit. So there we go. As much as we want some of those Aussie street circuits featuring in iRacing, we have to live with the ones that we've got at the moment, and Detroit is a hot favourite. Favourite for some who love them, and a favourite for others who really don't.
Yeah, it's a shame we don't have a bookmaker for Supercars NZ. I'd be pretty keen to put some money on Nick Bakey for that race in the Div 2s.
Yes, our illustrious leader of the Piston Cup at the end of the week, Nick Bakey. I'd say that's probably his number one track out of all of them. It always seems to be that if there's any delay on people choosing a track or unknown, it's always Detroit is the first one to get spat out of his mouth. So while I've got you on the races coming up for this week, TCRs tomorrow night are at
Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
There would not be a bad one to stream, so I'm going to go off very shortly and send a message to our race driver and see if he's still on board for tomorrow night. And then on Thursday you'll be able to catch our regular broadcasting team for the GT3s of Wayne and Sean as we head to
A new track that I'm going to have to buy, Aragon GP Circuit.
Okay, yeah, so that is a new one, a new release for the series. Any info and data on that, where it's from, what it's like?
I believe it's another Spanish one, so obviously
Okay.
Spanish Motorsport put in some investment into getting some of their tracks on iRacing, as we saw Jerez added last year.
Yeah, awesome
Last
stuff.
season, sorry.
Yep. Awesome. No, that was very cool. Oh, thank you to everyone at home who joined us tonight. Big thank you for joining in on the chit chat there on the side. It was great to engage with you guys and bring forward a bit of how you guys feel about certain things. Shane and I are pretty transparent. If it's not Holden, it's not worth mentioning. But yeah, thank you to Allports Motorsport. If anyone at home has sim racing on their mind, please feel free to head over to allports.nz. Check out their website. They've got some discounts for SuperCars NZ members at checkout. 15% off when you put in the code SCNZ there. So go along and have a look at that and get yourself some gear to come along and join in the fun racing that we do here at SuperCars NZ and show us how much faster you are than us and versus some of our pro drivers that come along. This has been Doug, joined by Shane in the Broadcasting Lounge. Thank you again to all, and good night.